like, it was crazy because I remember, not to get into too many details, but I remember being in a closet and the last thing they were going to do was burn me alive. Like, that was it.
Marshall in the middle.
Last night I talked to Josie Laposa, and it was great. It was great. You got to listen to it. Amazing. Heroes I know.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, good. Well, I appreciate you talking to me. I'm so excited. You are a hero of mine. You are a valuable teammate, right? You were a huge part of our team at a time where we were all learning, all of us trying to figure out life. And we're still trying to figure that out. But Sergeant Mason got throat cancer, and I didn't find out about it until it was too late. And I don't know, it just jump started me back to this, talking to my friends and loved ones and heroes and trying to get some of these memories recorded and documented so that we can, make these memories, and
I love that.
Right?
I love that he jump started that for you because, it did a lot in me too. I've experienced a lot of death this last year. And even though he was like within arm's reach, I couldn't bring myself to the funeral. I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to break. I'm going to completely break if I, and it was a tough time for me, but I know he knows we're good. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about, young, is Josie. It's definitely not Jose, right? I'm sorry.
Top, I could never forgive you for that.
So I remember you as Fernandez, right?
Yes.
That's who I remember. Fez.
Yeah. It was just way too long for everybody. Three consonant, what is it? Three Fernandez. There we go.
Yeah. So all right. So you grew up and came in the Army at a time when, being a female and doing the things you were doing is kind of unique. Tell me about young Josie and how you ended up in the Army and stuff. Tell me about that.
All right. So, this one's probably going to be a shocker, but like 5 months before I joined, I had been stabbed. I was in the streets doing street things. And it was crazy. It really was. It was, I think, I wasn't taught the best values. So, I was out there in the streets, making money and doing things that, I shouldn't have been doing. And, I had family that was doing the same. And a cousin of mine, it came down to like, hey, you borrowed this money from me and I'm gonna not give you your stuff back till you give me your money. And, that particular cousin was like, I don't like that. And she was on drugs and, so that went down and I'm amen that I'm here. And about like, it was crazy because I remember, not to get into too many details, but I remember being in a closet and the last thing they were going to do was burn me alive. Like that was it. And, only God, like to me, because I just have such a strong faith. I look back and I'm like, wow, I was saying my last prayer in a closet. And then all of a sudden, I'm still alive. And, things went down I feel like only a divine way for me to get, help that evening or very early morning. And I remember thinking, like, if I would have died in this closet, I would just be a statistic. Like, I would just be this girl who was in the streets, and people would probably be like, she probably deserved it, and or something. People with also the wrong thinking and things like that. And I remember, I felt strongly when 9/11 happened. I felt really like a strong feeling of like, if I were old enough, I would go and do that. And so that kind of faded along the way. And then so I'm 19, and I make it through that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go do it because I want to die my way. If I stay out here, I'm gonna die that kind of way, stuffed in a closet, stabbed and burned alive, and yeah, so crazy, right? But I thought to myself, like, I need to do something. And if I go die, like, my life meant something. And my mom could say, yeah, my daughter is, she's gone, but her life meant something. And whereas I didn't feel that if I would have died that night, I'm wrong. My mom would have, definitely felt like that, but I inside felt like I need to go do something. So honestly, my intention was to go and die in the military. That was literally my intention. And yeah, it was funny because after that happened to me, I moved back home, and my mom was in this new relationship with my stepdad, who I call dad now. He's great. But there were 7 of us kids. It was like Brady Bunch got together, like the Mexican Brady Bunch. And instead of 6, there were 7, of course, because we're Latinos. So there had to be another kid. And so it was just this chaos. And then my cousin Steve, he did 4 years in the Army and moved back with my parents. So we had an extra person. And then my brother had, knocked up his girlfriend when he was 14. So we had her there, and it was chaos. But I remember my cousin Steve saying, like, you know what, I want to re-enlist. And so his recruiter would go to our house, and I was a waitress at that time, doing the graveyard shift. So in the middle of the night, I'd go, and then I slept in the living room. And so I would overhear these conversations about, getting back into the military and his MOS and all that stuff. So one day I'm like, I would walk everywhere. So I decided I'm just gonna go walk to the recruiting office. And I swear I was dressed so inappropriately. When I walked in there, they all just kind of were like, what? what do you want? And I just was like, could you get me into the military? I didn't know the difference between Army, Marine, Air Force, Navy. I didn't know the difference. I just walked in and said, could you do it? Could you get me in like fast, because I'm gonna die out here? Like, and they did. Like, the recruiter, it was so funny because
Thanks, man.
he's talking to me, and he's like, trying to talk about air defense and because it's what the Army needs, right? And he's like, there's a bonus, and it was a 40K bonus. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. And he says, well, let me show you a video. And I said, no, I'll do it. I'll do it. You're 40K, I'll do it. So I had no idea what I was getting into. I just knew I wanted to get into it.
That's such an amazing story. So, when you left everything behind, did your past follow you? Did you make a clean break for a while? Tell me about that.
I like that you say that. A clean break for a while. Yes. And it's funny. So I loved those Army values because I wasn't taught values like that. I'm almost gonna cry. I cried with Sonia the other day talking about this. But so I had a lot of anger. I used to get in a lot of fights and stuff. And I remember that I was like, this is a clean break. I'm getting into the Army. These Army values are great. I loved basic training. I excelled in everything that I did. And I just thought to myself, like, man, this is really something. Like, I never would have known that I'd be good at this, and I'm, I get to this room and I'm supposed to room with Sonia because I get to Bravo Battery, right? And she is like, has all her stuff already up, and we know she's a real girly girl, so she's got her girly girl stuff up, and then she tells me, that's your corner over there. And my sister is helping me move in, and my sister is like, aren't you gonna fight with her? Aren't you gonna say something? And I'm like, no, I'm gonna be happy in my little corner. That's what I'm gonna do, because I'm not gonna be angry anymore. And so yes, it gave me not a completely clean break. I needed a lot, and I still do, cleaning to do, but it definitely kick-started a new way of thinking. And it's like I said, with those Army values, like it was the first time that like that meant something to me, or that I had even heard of those kind of like honor, duty, respect, integrity. And I just thought to myself, like, that's what I want in my life. So yeah, tears.
What was hard for you? Was there anything that you found that was particularly hard in the Army?
People. That's the
Amen.
hard. The hardest thing is people, because I pretty much, like, and PT was like nothing to me. I could beat most of the guys, and that kind of stuff was the easy part. It was like, okay, I grew up my young childhood with my grandparents on their farm. I'm used to running across acres and doing hard things, and but people were always, and myself, getting myself in the way of myself was always the hardest thing. Always.
What are you best at? What did you find that was really easy, greasy peasy,
I think following, like, not following all orders, but I think the easy, or should I say, let me backtrack. What made it easy is that I knew I was going to eat. I knew I was going to have a place to lay my head at night. And I think that made it easy for me to be disciplined, for me to take the discipline, and going out into the field, and the physical part about it, the mental part. It was like, you know what, like, I'm getting something that I feel so overly grateful for, that a lot of people don't get. And I think that that's what made it easy, was just knowing, like, I'm taken care of, like, this, everything's okay. Like, I'm not like struggling. And yeah, for sure.
So we're kind of doing this to to get some of these stories told. We were in a unit together for a significant amount of time. What kind of memories do you have of that time? I remember that you were a great soldier. I remember that you got along with people well. I remember that you were a star at PT, absolute stud. And I remember that you were just kind of always one that was a team player, What kind of memories do you have?
I have I have such good memories. Like, of course, there's all the funny ones, like, when we, when Alka see me tied up, Sarah Holden put an apple in her mouth. That was hilarious. Funny stories, like, just really good funny stories, that it's like you're with your brothers and your sisters, and you get on each other's nerves, but at the end of the day, like, nobody better mess with you. and we're gonna do all this crazy stuff to each other, and tease and push, and the normal things that siblings do. But at the end of the day, but yeah, that one stands out. I remember I just remember certain characters too, like Bib.
Oh, Bib.
Oh, Bib. I love that you're here, Joe. Oh, Bib.
I'm gonna find him.
Oh my gosh. He's probably riding airplanes.
So Bib is on my friends list, and eventually I'm gonna do the interview with him. I'm looking forward to it.
I remember helping Bib because Bib was so special, a special kid, right? And he just didn't have that socialization, the socialization skills, and I remember he wanted a reclass, and I remember I was helping him with his math because he was going to, I forget what it's called, but it was to raise his GT score. And we had gone over numerator and denominator over and over again with him, myself and Teresa. And we're going over and over with him this numerator and denominator. And then not even like an hour later, he's like, Fernandez. And I'm like, yeah, Bib. And he's like, what's the denominator again? It was like, Bib, thank you for helping me with my patience. Yeah, too many funny stories with Bib. I remember you creating the program. You were trying to help him out, and it was like the I love Bib, and you wanted us to like be inclusive and let him, and we would try, and he made it so hard. He just made it so hard. It was like you couldn't finish a conversation with the guy without him just but I have to give that to you. You tried so hard. Like you got everyone involved. You were like, hey, like he just needs some more TLC. And
You have to understand, Fez, from my perspective, he was threatening to jump off of this railing off the fourth floor. Okay.
oh,
He had
good.
legit threats. Okay. And he had his peers and leaders that were volunteering to help him. Okay. They were they were cheering him on at one point. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
But listen, and you know it as well as I do, as messed up as it is, he brought it on himself. Okay. He had a way. The PX lady called me. The PX lady, you get him away from here. You get him.
Or I'm gonna do something. Yeah. It really he did. Not saying what they did was like right, and I personally have lost soldiers from suicide. So it's like, oh my gosh, but he really, I think that he just didn't know how offensive he could be, and he's over there like spewing it and thinking he doesn't need to relearn something. And one of the most basics of things, like, and it's like, hey, like, you can't just call someone, the N-word because they listen to, predominantly African American music. Like, you can't do that, babe. That doesn't make any sense.
All right. We have to move on from Bib. We can talk about
Bib.
We got to. We have to, because Bib is, again, I love Bib. I do.
Me too.
So, all right. So tell me tell me about your integration into the new unit or whatever. What was your first unit? Was it Bravo? Was it Bravo
Yes.
5?
Yes.
How did
Yes,
that go? How did it go as a young soldier, looking back on it?
You know, it's like, do you really want me to be honest?
I-
Okay. I mean, I might hurt some people's feelings. Yeah. So like my cousin Steve, I tell you, he was integral in like getting me in to join the military. And I remember I was taking my practice PT test, and he was like, oh, they're gonna like love you because you're really good at PT. But I remember coming into the unit and just kind of like being pushed aside by my first line supervisors, kind of like, I didn't know that, like, after the first PT test I took, like, I didn't know the battalion policies. I didn't know that I could like be off from PT or anything. Like, I wasn't informed. And in terms of, and this is because I guess maybe they assumed that because I joined, I knew something about the military, but I really didn't. I mean, I so didn't that when they put me up for the battalion commander inspector award in basic, I wasn't even quite nervous. I was looking at all these ranks and thinking, I really don't know what that means. And I won because I didn't understand it. I just didn't get it. And until later, I didn't until I was in it. And I remember like my first supervisors, they didn't tell me you could get promoted. This is how you can get promoted. It wasn't until I was under Teresa Stern-Holden that I knew this stuff. And so maybe they thought like, you should be proactive and ask us, but I didn't feel like I really got that mentoring until, at least for my first line. You were always there. Like, that was a given. But, until I got with Sergeant Holden, that's when she was like, hey, talking about promotion and correspondence courses. I'm like, what are those? And, she led me through it and everything. So yeah, but yeah, it was, I felt like I got to the unit and it was just a bunch of us kids. And back then you could drink at 17. And I was 19, or you could drink before 21, but you could drink as early as 17. And I remember Frankwit was like a big drinker. So I hung out with Frankwit a lot, and you just have all these like brothers and sisters with you hanging out, doing things you probably shouldn't be doing, like drinking at 17 and 19. And it's like, I but yeah, that's how it was for me. The good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, cool. So when we went to Korea, were you underage?
No, I turned 21 that July, and then October, I was 21. I was ready. Ready to do it, without hesitation.
So what was so did you go to Korea 2 times or just 1 time? You went twice, right?
Twice. Yes. Yeah, you didn't go the second time with us.
Oh no, I rolled. I got the heck out of there.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, we were in heaven, right? Looking back on it, it was amazing. Looking back on it, it
really was.
All over again, wouldn't we?
Absolutely, I would. Absolutely. It was just too much fun and growing to regret. Yeah.
Yeah. So what were so here's one of the questions that I've been asked from different people to ask. So let me ask it for you. Was there a time you messed up? Is there a time you got in trouble, like you messed up? You want to share?
Yeah. I'll yeah. I mean, I got in trouble a few times, but so what is the statute of limitations for the things you can be convicted for?
I don't know.
I joke.
if there's an international incidents involved, I'm not sure what the diplomatic.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How funny. Okay. So personally, you know that if you didn't see, or if you saw me on, you saw me. If you saw me, you saw me on. Me and Mian were like peanut butter and jelly, always together. And we had planned to go to Beach Blast. And at the time, they had, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank for her name, but they had her in charge, kind of like warming her up to get promoted. So E4. And she would hang out with Laviolette. She was the older one. What is her name?
Green?
Green, duh. Yes, Green. So Green was like, they were giving her a lot of responsibility, like, warming her up. And so, when we put in our 4-day pass, we had given it to her. And so, it's an accountability thing. It's like the Army needs to know where you are. And so we said we were going to go to Beach Blast. Well, last minute, we're like, nah, let's just hang around. Let's go hang around local, but not really local, Daegu. It's about half hour away, or an hour or something like that. And we're like, yeah, we don't really want to go to Beach Blast. Let's go to Daegu. So we went to Daegu, and somehow Green found out, and she was like, telling us all about this, like, accountability. And I'm like, I don't need to tell you where I'm at. Like, I was just so mad about it. And I was like, and she was trying to explain to me, she's doing the right thing. But I also feel like there was already like some tension there, and I don't even know where it comes from. I think it's exactly like you said, there's not a lot of females. And so I think that females are harder on each other. And so, she came down really hard on us. And I remember I went to go talk to you, Top, because I was like, I feel like she is overkill. She now wants to she wanted to write up an Article 15. I don't know what's the verb, like do an Article 15 or whatever. And I thought, this is excessive. Like, I get it, but you're being excessive. So I used the open door policy, and I went and I talked to you, Top, about it. And somehow everything got resolved. But you did remind me, like, about accountability. And Mian and I had to, I think the punishment was like, we had to be at the gate and track when people left from the unit and when they came back from the unit. So we're tracking, and it was just, it was one weekend. It wasn't, terrible, but yeah, I don't think that I understood. And I think that it was like a punishment that didn't match the crime in my mind. Or like the Article 15 was, not the, like, I was fine with like the gate duty.
It's neat that you bring that up. That's the thing that Command Sergeant Major Smith talked about in her interview, about how she was a big fan of corrective training, and how that she thought that handled things way better than Article 15s and court martials.
Yeah, talking to people, like, that's how I parent. It's like, I'm gonna talk to you, and we're gonna match it, and I don't hate you, and I don't want wrong for you, but I need you to understand that this is wrong. Yeah. But I can't blame her, because when, like, you get some power and you're young and it's the first time, like, I'll tell you, when I became a E5, like, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I was a shithead. I don't really cuss anymore, so that tells you something. Yeah.
So I don't know, but one of the things that I always thought was interesting was, as a first sergeant, I had to pick people for security patrol to go out, and they get this little brassard, and they get like a whistle, and then like they could like almost have arrest authority and that kind of thing. You had to careful who you put out there, or else you'd have the whole freaking city arrested, you know?
It's way too much power. They'd be like, what were they called? Like courtesy patrol?
Yeah. Patrol.
I got put on it.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember it. It sucked.
I don't see you being belligerent at all, Joe. You're just way too cool for school.
Thank you.
Oh my God. So tell me about your leaders, Fez. Tell me about who your leaders were.
Who I would personally consider leaders,
Yeah, tell me about those that inspired you. Tell me about your good.
I love that. I love that. I'm almost gonna get to tears. You know, I just want to say first of all, Sergeant Mason. And I was never really directly under Sergeant Mason, but of course he was authority to me. I always thought he was older than me, but found out we were the same age. But because of the way he carried himself, he just had like an old soul to him. And I remember, you know, when we went to Korea and we'd pull a gate guard at the motor pool. And we'd be like in that shack, and he was, you know, the kind of person, him and Peter would be like, hey, let's play games. Let's do stuff like as if we're a family, you know, and not just be bored out of our minds. And so I that's how I first got to know, you know, Ryan. And I was like, man, he's such a good leader. And when we came back from Korea, we had done an FTX, and I remember the corporals were in charge of like each task, right? And the corporals at the time were Sonia, well, I forget her last name then, but Ariel. And Ariel and I, like, you know, according to Sonia, she didn't like me, but I had never had a conversation with her. Now we're good friends, which is funny. So it was them two and Al Qasimi, who I love, and I see him pretty often here in El Paso. He's a big deal. So, and so they're three corporals. I'm the only like specialist. And so they have them three and Sergeant Mason running everything. And Sergeant Mason says, Fernandez, I'm going to put you in charge. Like, you and these corporals, you guys figure this out. I trust you. And I'm like, all right, you know? And so I'm over here and I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. But you know, once you get a rank, even though you're not getting paid, you know, for that corporal, you got to, you know, you still get some power. And so it's like every idea I had was like shot down. And I remember, you know, he told me, it was like, who cares what they say? Because I would be like, I'd come back and I'd be like, well, I tried saying this and they don't care. And he'd be like, it doesn't matter. He's like, just go, and just coaching me through it and telling me like, it doesn't matter. Like, I believe in you. You can do this. And they gave me such a hard time. And I love all three of them. I am friends with all three of them, but I got Sergeant first. I just want to drop the mic there. Thank you, Sergeant Mason, for helping me believe in myself. You know, and I mean, they weren't too far behind me, but it just, you know, and they were all great. So, but definitely Sergeant Mason put that in my mind, like, it doesn't matter rank, like, you're ready for this, go do it. And I love that. And then I would say, of course, Utah, because I mean, just telling you, like, telling you what brought me into the military, and, you know, having that type of betrayal, and I didn't trust anyone, and at all. I didn't trust anyone, and I didn't tell anyone. I didn't really even talk about these things that happened to me for many, many years. But I just felt like I could come to your door and tell you, you know, wrong, right, or indifferent what was going on. And I felt like when you know, sometimes when they say use open door policy, like people are afraid that of like maybe some kind of what's the word I'm looking for, like ramifications, or what's that,
repercussion.
yeah, like some kind of, and I just didn't fear that with, you know, with you. And it always felt like you honestly had our best interests. It really, and it never felt, I mean, I know you're a man and you can fall, but I never saw that.
Oh,
So,
thank you. Thank you.
yeah.
Honored. I'm honored. Was there a what was your assigned weapon?
I had 3 assigned weapons. But one more person I have to give a shout out to, and that's Sergeant Holden. Sergeant Holden was there through when my water broke. Sergeant Holden's who I called. When I had my daughter, she was there. I cried because I was leaking all over her car, and she was like, "Who cares?" And I was like, ah. You know, I love her. She molded me into the, you know, the best that she could, and I felt like she was a mom to me, and I love that, and she cared about me a lot, and she still does, and I love her. And so yeah, so there's that. And then I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Oh, I just can't stop but have to say something about Sergeant Holden and how awesome she is. Oh, MG, right?
I adore her. Tears.
Right?
I adore her. Yes, I adore her. She's one of the strongest people that I know. And she it's like no matter how much I would mess up in my personal life, she would still see me as who I could be instead of where I was. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. So what was the other question?
Well, so tell me about your assigned weapons.
Oh my gosh. So I had 3 assigned weapons. I had the M16, those old M16s they gave air defense. No nice M4 with a scope or a laser, nothing like that. So we had this old M16, and I was on the 50 cal with Gehagen. He was my partner in crime with the 50 cal, and I had the 249, the saw gunner. Right. Yeah, imagine having all 3.
So weren't you on RSOP?
Say that again?
Were you on RSOP?
Yes.
Tell me about being on RSOP. That was a unique team, right? That was really cool.
Yes. We had to wear moon suits to, like, you know, mine sweep the area to make sure, you know, we were like the first guys supposed to be out there, you know, before we set up site. And I just always found that like hilarious. Like, you really think this moon suit's gonna save me? What the heck did I do to deserve this?
Oh my goodness. That's good. Good stuff. Oh my goodness.
I'm like, I've got this machine, and I'm like, man, I knew I wanted to, you know, like I didn't mind dying for my country, but I didn't know it was gonna be this.
Did you go to Yuma with us?
Say that again.
Did you go to Yuma?
No, I didn't go to Yuma. That was like right before I got there.
Okay.
I went like on the aftermath when everyone was talking about it. I went to Doña Ana with you guys.
Okay, good. All right. Awesome. Yeah.
And we both we both got to the unit at the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you reclassed, right, Joe?
No, I was prior service, so.
Oh, that's right, prior service. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we got there about the same time. I remember we were all going in there with our bags and dropping them on the floor. Yeah. It was like, where's my room at?
Yeah.
Give me a room.
No, it was for me, it was my corner. Where's my corner at? I laugh with Sonia till this day about it. I'm like, yeah, you weren't the nicest at first. It actually took us getting in a real fight for her to realize, like, you know, I
I'm not messing with her.
Yeah, and then now we're like, I mean, we talk like every other day, you know, like we're like sisters, you know.
That's good stuff.
But yeah, our stuff, oh my gosh, moon suits.
So do you remember a time in the military being cold?
Yeah, Gwangju. I remember feeling like this is ungodly cold. Like, what are we doing out here? I was pulling gate guard with one of the Katusas, Kim, and I remember like just freezing, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, and I don't know, I would just do impressions for him, and he thought I was funny, so that's how we'd go on.
So, so you got to do some impressions. I want to hear some impressions.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, I got one for you. You ever see a movie called Grease? Okay, so I'm gonna do the Danny Zuko impression, okay? So you remember, like, you know, Sandy and Danny had that whole summer, and then Sandy finally sees him and she's like, Danny! And then he's all like, Sandy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, bite the Winnie Riz. I can't do the Riz impression, so if you want to finish that, you can.
I love it. I love it. So what other special talents do you have?
Special, like special, or um here's another impression, okay? I can sound like a crying baby without moving my mouth. You ready? Are you sure you're ready? Ready? Okay. All right. I gotta get myself ready for this one.
Hey, this is entertainment right here, people. This is entertainment.
You're like, look what I raised.
So, oh my gosh. So take a moment, and let's think of something different. I know, right? We're laughing. Yeah. So it's like, whoo, we need to do a cleansing breath or something. When go back to so tell me about patriotism and how that manifests itself in your life. Yeah, I consider you a huge patriot. I thank you for your service. You were a wonderful team member. What is patriotism to you? Tell me about that.
So I was always pretty smart in school. So they had put us in this program that I still feel is one big experiment, but I don't know if they have it everywhere, but it's called the Gifted and Talented program. So they do like a cognitive test, and if you're like exceptional, then they put you in a group with a bunch of geniuses, right? So I'm in this group. I barely pass, like, because I don't care much for homework, and no one's holding me accountable for it either. But I do remember I didn't like history, but my ears would widen when I heard about history. And I didn't want to do the work, of course, but I loved to hear about history. And I've actually got, it's funny, and I'll tell you that Buffalo left this behind, and I'm so glad that he did. We the people, right? And I remember paying attention. I remember paying attention a lot to our history and Abraham Lincoln. And I got a photo of him over here too, because I just thought to myself, like, this is our history. What rich history we have, that we just get better and better and better. And then my grandfather, he was an immigrant, and he came from Mexico and started a life here, and he came, legally, and did all the right things for his green card and everything like that. And I remember always hearing about Mexico's drama. And, we've got the cartel, and just how, when we would go to Mexico, because we would go frequently, it was like such a poor state. And then, you'd have these rich places. So there was no middle class. And I remember feeling appreciative that we were able to, even as poor as we weren't the poorest here, and we could go to school, and we could, eat and live, and, and things like that. And I feel like the Constitution is a love letter. It's a love letter from our forefathers to say, hey, there could be corruption. So this is what you need to follow in order to make sure that you have a firm standing. And, I take it so seriously, because those values, those American values that we were founded upon, they mean so much to me. So much to me. My daughter and I, we have for the last 9 years worked with a lot of foundations and missions that help children from Cambodia, from Haiti, from Uganda, Dominican Republic, all these places. And we see these stories, we hear these stories from our own sponsored kids, and it's like, I feel like, I think even when that 9/11 happened, I was in junior high and I'm watching it happen, I felt something in me saying, like, we need to protect this freedom we have here. We need to protect it, because it's not everywhere. And a lot of Americans, I think they take that for granted. They think that everyone has these things, and they don't. And they would be better over the years, but if they even just look south, and that's not even as bad as it gets in other parts of the world. And so patriotism for sure is a big deal for me, raised by first and second generation immigrants. And it means a lot. Our freedom means a lot to me. People to be able to say what they need to say, and held accountable, and do things a lawful way, and love and respect each other. All men were created equal, means a lot to me. And just I guess I'm gonna go on a little rant, but I think it's not a coincidence that you'll find most of the patriotism within our military ranks, because you put all walks of life together as a family. And I think we really get it. We get it.
Yeah.
Like, color is not even a thing, we get it.
So I also happen to know that you're a woman of faith. Could you share some of that with me? Do you mind?
Absolutely. And we've kind of already touched on it. I'm in a closet. I'm praying, in a sense, and I'm talking to that particular cousin's mom who's passed on. And my stepdad, who had raised me for about 7 years, almost 8, and was murdered himself by my biological father. And I'm talking to these people as if I'm going to heaven. But little did I know that I didn't even know God, and I that was like a point in my life, not where I turned to faith, but a point to my life that led till post-military. And I started to reflect post-military. Oh, as a kid, I could have never dreamed that I would have a house. I bought a house. I could have never dreamed that I would go to college. I went to college, and I had this beautiful daughter, this house, these nice things, and I was so empty. And I remember one night, like, just done, remembering things, a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of abuse I seen on other women, and kind of these mindsets, these wrong mindsets. And I just felt tortured because I had never let these things out in words. I'd never shared these things. So I thought, why am I not happy? I have everything that I didn't even dare to dream of when I was a kid. And I'm super unhappy. And I was on my knees, and I'll tell you, to be honest with you, I was just contemplating suicide. And I asked out to, this God that I both said I didn't believe in, but also said I hated. And I'm like, if you don't show up, like, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, if you're real, this is about that time to show up, And I hadn't been getting sleep for about a week. I go to sleep that night, and I get like, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm finally getting rest. The second night, I go to sleep well. The third night is when something happens. So just to rewind a little bit, in my background, I touch lightly on these things, but, I don't ever mind talking about them because I feel like I'm in a healing process and it doesn't hurt. I forgive the people, and so, I've mentioned to you, like, I believe my biological father murdered my stepdad, who was so loving and kind. And, and then, there were just so many things, bad characters in my family that did things that were not right. And at this point, I love them and I cover them and forgive them because I get it. Like, it was ingrained in their brain. It was like a generational curse. And the last thing I did when I was on my knees crying out to God, if you're real, come. I asked, can I see Andy again? And Andy's my stepdad's name. And I said, I mean, it's that kind of, there's a word for it, but it's like when you empty yourself completely. You're like, there's nothing left of me. Like, you can have it all. If you're real, God, there's nothing left in me. I have all this stuff I'm supposed to have. I'm supposed to be happy, and I'm not. And I'm being tortured and I can't sleep. So the third night, I'm in this lucid dream, more real than you and I talking face to face on this Zoom, more real than you touching your own hand right now. And I see my dad, Andy, and I'm like, this is crazy. I don't know what's happening, but I'm like, is it really you? I've got this attitude from hell, literally. And I'm like, what is this? I'm awake in my dream and this is crazy. Like, and is this a joke? Because it was the way that he had to speak to me. Because for me, God loves each of us. He just doesn't love all of us. And that's it. He loves the individual. He knows how to talk to the individual. So in this dream, I see him and I'm questioning and I'm like, can I touch you? And he's like, yeah. And he says everything without moving his mouth, which is funny because I watch a lot of these after the fact. I watched a lot of these videos of people who die and come back. And when they talk to their loved ones don't move their mouths, kind of like that baby crying, like they don't move the mouths, but they're speaking, they're communicating, right? And it was, you know, I looked back after I saw those videos, like that's what happened to me. And my dad is like, yeah, you can touch me without, and I touched him. And my dad used to play when he was younger, chicken. You know, with the cigarettes, chicken, you put them out on your arms. So I'm like, well, I need to see you. Like, is this right? You know, kind of like Thomas does with Jesus. He's like, I need to see your wounds. And Jesus is like, look. So it's kind of like that. And then all of a sudden, we are on like a bay window type thing. And he's sitting across from me, as many times he did before when I was younger, as my stepdad. And my mom, who had had a lot of harsh treatment, her punishment was always to physically abuse, you know. And I remember that when she met Andy, she started to change, but she still would relapse. And he would go in after the fact and he'd be like, can I talk to you? And I'd be like, yeah. And he'd come in and he'd sit across from me on my bed and he would tell me, this is why she's mad. And so he would explain to me what I did wrong. And that meant a lot to me, and only God could know that. And so I'm on this bay window, we're sitting across from each other just the way that we always did. And I asked him, why am I here? And he said, because you asked me, huh? And then I woke up and I was never the same again. And I tested the Bible over and over again. Like, okay, if I live like this, you say this is going to happen. You make this promise. And he hasn't failed me since. So it's like, it's crazy. You know, he could have never told me that I would be a believer. I hated him. But on one hand, I hated him. And on one hand, I told everyone that I was an atheist. And now look where I am.
Amen. I'm so proud of you. You make me proud of
Amen.
your story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. I try to condense it, and I don't think I'm good at condensing.
So take me back to the rest of your military career. What happened that you decided to get out, and tell me about being a sergeant and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh. So I told you, I don't think in my first year I was a good leader. I was like what do they call it? I was on a power trip and I called names. And you know, people say it's just normal. We call names in the military. It's like a normal thing. And now I've got a brother who's a Marine, and my stepdad now, he's former Navy. So you could just imagine, like, you know, it's that culture. Like, we cuss a lot. We're vulgar, but we're not meaning to harass. It's a joke, right? But I mean, I took it extra. I would call my soldiers. I'm gonna say these names, but I don't want to say them again. But I mean, I would come up with like these crazy names like Dick Piss and Pissant and come on. And it was mean too. It was like, get on the effing floor, you pissant, you know. It's just ridiculous. Like, what? Who put this person in charge? It was abuse. Like,
Practicing ways you can abuse your soldiers.
right? It was terrible. And then it wasn't till like I started to like remember, like, wait a minute, there is leadership that I did not want to be like. And I started to be like, no, like I need to get better at this. And so I think, or I believe that I did, because my former soldiers still talk to me and, you know, ask me for advice and things like that. So I'm like, okay, I needed to change, and I did. And the end result is that they still love me. So that's good. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you asked what made me get out of the Army, right? So my last unit, I went back to 2-1. You know, we were together in 2-1, and then we turned into, or no, 5-5-2. I went back to 5-5-2 is what I mean. And we had went to be 2-1. And then when I came back the second time from Korea, I was back in the beginning, like full circle, you know, like Bliss, Hood, or Bliss, Korea, Hood, Korea, Bliss, like a full circle. And I found myself in 5-5-2 and was doing excellent. I was working, I don't know if you know him, top Sergeant Major Maldonado. Love that guy. And he called me his right hand woman because I just got stuff done. Like we'd go to staff call and I had a DA 200 for everything. And as soon as, you know, a captain or a first sergeant was like, no, we didn't do that. I'm like, yeah, here it is, you know, and that Sergeant Major loved me for that. Unfortunately, after I had Cordelia in 2009, I got a heart disease. And we were about to go to Qatar, and it came up, and I tried to lie about it to go to Qatar, and it backfired. And so my captain at the time, gosh, what was his name? I think it might have been Chambliss, or you guys remember Chambliss or
Chamberlain? Or I know who you're talking about. He was my commander.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was my commander, and he was like, well, you're amber, you're about to be red. I've got to start this chapter paperwork. And I had been a whole year watching two other guys that we were in 2-1 with. Remember Marshall and Charlie Battery? Tall, his name was Marshall. He was two people I knew. And I watched this new unit, like new to us, treat them like garbage because they were going through a med board. And I remember thinking, like, this is crazy. And, you know, we came in this unit together. We're all three in S3, and they've done nothing, but they're getting treated by these people who don't know them like they're sick hall rangers. You know what I mean? You know, when you get like that, and it's like, wait a minute, like they have true, real issues. And it was the time that the military, it was 2010, they were trying to do a cut, like a 400,000 service member cut. So they were chaptering people out. First time they didn't make weight. If they had a medical condition, they were chaptering them out like crazy, chaptering us out like crazy. And so they fell in that category of like, hey, we found this in your medical, we're going to chapter you out to meet that number across the Army. And they, after a few months, almost, well, like maybe 9 months of working with that Sergeant Major and working with 552, they started a chapter and on me. And I remember thinking, like, there's no way that I'm going to sit here and get treated the way I've been seeing these two guys get treated, while my Sergeant Major at the time wasn't there to be like a buffer. And I was like, oh, heck no. So we went to SRP. I mean, this is bad. That's why I asked you, what are the statutory limits? But I lied again at SRP so that I could go to Qatar. And I was like, my mom told me, if you go again, I'm not going to watch Cordelia. So you're not going again. She's like, I don't know what to do. So I was kind of like in this place where it was like, I didn't want to stay in this rear D where no one knew me. I mean, I had been accused that my sergeant, she was a female, Pierce, I forget her name, but she was getting ready to retire. So they put her in S3, and there were people that were accusing her of pencil whipping my PT card. Oh, she can't be that good at PT. I mean, if they were coming down hard on this person they didn't even know. I mean, it was crazy. So to think, I see the way they treat you guys, and I'm actually liked by the sergeant major. How much worse can you guys treat me? There was a point where like I had gotten a fight with a 20-year staff sergeant because he was trying to tell my soldier what to do. It was a freeze at Fort Bliss, and it broke the pipes at her apartment building, so I let her go. And he was arguing with me like, no, she needs to ask me. And I'm like, no, she's my soldier. And so we got into it, and the sergeant major's, fix was, well, I'm going to have you share office. Well, I went to my office one morning and I had all my binders. I was a school's NCOIC. All my binders had been knocked off the shelf, and a refrigerator that I had found that wasn't in the S4 books that myself and my soldiers moved into there. He had unplugged it, shifted it a little bit, and all my food went bad because I didn't go eat lunch. I would just take my food. So it was like mean boys. It wasn't girls. It was mean boys. Like they were being mean to me. And I thought to myself, if I have to stay with these idiots who are like, retiring and, doing their thing, and they're going to be in charge of me. Like, I talked to my sergeant major, Maldonado, and he was like, okay, well, if your mom's not going to watch your daughter, then I could do something called a Chapter 8. And I'm getting the 7 p.m. notifications for the time it was supposed to be originally. But so yeah, I talked to him, and like, even though he would tell me like have thick skin and stuff like that, I told him, I said, I have a daughter. I want to already go to college. I want to already start my new life, because this is a wrench in my life. Either way, either if I stay for this, at that time it was taking like a year or longer to med board. And I was like, I stay for this year, or you help me, and then I can go and I can start my life. And he didn't like it because he wanted me to get promoted. But at the end of the day, he loved me like a father, and he helped me with it. So that was my all right, see you later,
So, as you think about, looking back on your time in service, I get the feeling that you look on it as a favorable time, that you learned a lot, right? And you grew.
Yeah.
Tell me your impression of all that, looking back on it.
I wouldn't change it for a thing. I could, like, I wouldn't have my daughter. I wouldn't even have my husband, because at the time I was getting out of the military. He was also getting out of the military. And that's when we met. We didn't reconnect till years later, but I wouldn't have my husband. I wouldn't have my daughter. I would not have these opportunities. Like my rental in Horizon was through VA. Our rental here was through my husband's VA loan. And, I think about this and I'm like, I wouldn't have been taught those values I needed. I wouldn't have been taught how to handle people and with care, whether they dislike me or deserve it or don't deserve it, or they like me, and I feel like I know how to handle people like with care, no matter the situation. And can kind of like put myself in their shoes, because we came from everywhere and came together. So yeah, I don't regret any time, even the times that were tough. Like, I just don't regret it, because it made me a better person. It actually helped me love people better than I did before, when you couldn't like send me to school without getting in a fist fight. Yeah, my mom will tell you, so they used to call her and be like, so and my kid doesn't want to go to school because, there's this kid they're afraid of. And this was boys and girls. So, and now I love people. It's so stupid. Yeah, I had anger problems. I still do. I just, I handle them better.
Squish it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so before this is over, I want you to salute and report. I want your name, rank, and your hometown,
Okay.
And then if you would indulge me, I would love to call us to attention and let's sound off with lock, cock, ready to rock.
Okay. Okay. Name, rank, location, and then sound off.
Yeah.
Lock, cock, ready to rock.
Yeah. After that, I want you to sign out. Right.
Okay.
And
so,
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So if you could stand up, if you want, you don't have to do it now, but at some point, that's what I want to make sure we get that done.
Do it.
All right.
Let me move my chair. Yeah. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Are you ready for it now?
Yeah. Step back about a half a step. There you go. Go ahead. Yeah. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Are you going to call me to attention first?
No, you stay attention and you salute and you say, Sergeant Fez reports, from wherever.
Okay.
No smile.
Right. I'm like, I haven't done this in a while, so I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous I'm going to mess it up. All right. This is Sergeant Fernandez reporting from Fort Bliss, signing off.
Oh, I love it. Okay, we didn't need to sign off, but that's cool. Okay, so I'm going to call you to attention, right? Get a parade rest.
Let me be like whatever. Like I'm in the smoke pit.
Parade rest, and I'll call us to attention, okay? Sound off with me. Hot, ready to rock.
Okay.
Battery, attention!
Lock, cut, ready to rock!
Hey, oh my gosh, that's great. That's great. Now if you'll salute and then sign out. Say, signing out.
Signing out.
Yay!
Oh man, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's rich.
Do that anymore. We don't get to like make loud noises and scream.
I know, right?
Down the road. Oh, look, you're great.
I got one for both of you.
Okay.
It's not over.
What did you say?
Joe.
She said it's not over.
Where is that?
Oh shit. Oh my god.
But by the way, are you guys gonna have green and shrum and
Oh yeah, we already got shrum.
Heck yeah. And Robert's last name.
Avery? The
Yeah.
killer. I actually got him on Facebook.
Me too.
Get up with him.
Everybody, I want to get everybody. That's the whole
Yes.
goal.
Our goal is to get everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
So have you seen the big coin?
No.
Okay, so all right, so we've sent you a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
When this is over, yeah, I know, right? When this is over, we're gonna send you this beautiful wooden box, and it's got the Marshall in the middle logo on it. Inside the box has got this big coin. It's big. And then there's going to be a thumb drive. And on the thumb drive is going to be this interview and then a slideshow. I want you to send me pictures if you can. And
yes.
we'll make a memorial slideshow. And your military service will be more memorialized for your kids, but more importantly for your grandchildren. Right?
I love that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and so that's what this is about. That's what this is about.
I love it.
Yeah, and you're such a huge hero. You showed up every day. You were a vital team member. You did exactly what you needed to do at the time. You got along with everybody. Look, you changed your life, girl. You changed the world. That's great on you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
So much. Thank you.
Thanks for taking an opportunity to tell your story with us tonight. I'm excited. So I'm going to edit this.
Yeah.
And then what I'm going to do is over the next week, I'm going to post it. Okay. I'm going to put YouTube. If I make a premiere out of it, if I premiere it, will you help me share it with your friends and family?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that people would love to see that, you know, like you think about it and it's like, I have 6 brothers and sisters and they don't know that part, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. And they won't
My
know
daughter.
it. Talk to them about it. And so, you know, again, you are a huge hero of mine. You were a great contributor to the team. You were an example for others to follow. You still are. I'm so proud of you. Thanks for sharing your spirituality with us. Thanks for sharing your faith. Thanks for sharing your patriotism. And I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Me too. I love you guys so much. And you guys are heroes too. And I just like, you guys are an example, you know?
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited. So thanks much. I'm going to go ahead and let's sign off. And and we'll put this out. I love it. Yay.
I love it too. Yay. I can't wait.
Oh, I love you guys. All right. Good night.
Love you too. Bye, Joe. Bye, Will.
See you guys later.